So now Sports Central will be going over our next full prediction of this 2020 offseason, and it will be over the Auburn Tigers. And this team went 9-4 in 2019. Overall, great season for Auburn, but will they be able to improve in 2020 is what we're going to be going over here today. We're going to be going over a few players that this team will be losing, who they're going to be returning, and also going over a full preview as well as every single game on Auburn's schedule going into 2020. So yeah, with that, let's look at your season trends from 2019. For Auburn, they were 6-2 between September and October, and then between November and the postseason, they were 3-2. So this is a very consistent team all season long. Obviously, the second part of the season was much tougher than the first part. Of course, they had to play Alabama, of course, in the final week, and they also had to have a really tough bowl game against Minnesota. But once again, in the end, still a great season for Auburn, going 9-4, and they also were able to make it 2 decent bowl games. So all around, once again, great season for Auburn. Some of their key wins, you start off on August 31st, week 1, they played Oregon. They had a huge win there, 27-21. And if I remember right, many people did not expect Auburn to even have a chance of winning that game. Many people picked Oregon to win that one, so that was a huge win for Bo Nix and this team to get a win in the first week. They also had a big win over Texas A&M in College Station, 28-20. They also beat Mississippi State big time, 56-23, and then their signature win of the season came as the final game of the regular season in the Iron Bowl against Alabama. They had a huge win there, 48-45, and yeah, it's been quite a while since Auburn's been able to knock off Alabama, so that was quite a win there for this Auburn team. Moving on to your returning production for next season, they returned their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. And obviously, I mean, he was a great quarterback last season. Last season, he was a true freshman. And yeah, all around, great season. He had over 2,500 yards with 16 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in his first full season. So yeah, Bo Nix has got a ton of upside going into next season. I think he's got potential to put up 3,000 yards if he can stay healthy. I mean, he's got the talent around him to be able to do that for sure. They do lose their running back, their top running back, Jarvis Whitlow, which he is transferring away from the program. Obviously, that was announced a couple of months ago. He had just right around 900 yards with 10 touchdowns last season. So yeah, he was a pretty impactful player for this team, and that will quite honestly be the worst or the toughest loss on this entire offense. They returned their second running back, DJ Williams, which he had just right over 430 yards with 7 touchdowns last season. And they returned their top receiver in Seth Williams, which had just right around 830 yards with 8 touchdowns last season. They also returned their second wide receiver in Anthony Schwartz, which he had just over 550 yards with an additional 3 touchdowns. So the receiving core looks pretty good. I mean, their top loss on the receiving core is Will Hastings, their fourth wideout. So, and honestly, I mean, Will Hastings did not have a very big impact on this team. He only had right around 200 yards last season. So Will Hastings was a decent player, and obviously he did have some impact, but not a lot. As far as the offensive line goes, that is really where Auburn takes a couple of big hits. They lose 4 on the offensive line, watch out for that. But they do also lose 2 on the defensive line too, so yeah, that is a little bit concerning there. They also lose 2 in the secondary, so on defense overall, all they're losing is 4 starters. So really, I mean, the defense definitely has potential to improve, but this offense does have a couple of question marks. Once again, with Jarvis Whitlow transferring away, that's going to be tough. And then, of course, the offensive line losing 4 starters, you got to watch out for that too. But overall, I think if Bo Nix has a good season in 2020 for this Auburn team, I think honestly the team will follow. I think honestly this offense is going to heavily depend on how well Bo Nix does. Once again, if he's able to do well, put up over 3,000 yards or so, I think Auburn definitely could be a team that could hit 10 wins next season. But in the end, it definitely depends on how healthy this team is going to be. But that brings up the question, chances for Auburn to win their division in 2020. Once again, they've got a very tough division to play in, so it's tough to say right now whether or not they can do that, but I do expect them to hang around in there. I don't expect them to be a big bust by any means. I think that they definitely make a bowl game, but the big question is how far they can go past that, and it's still really tough to say, but I do expect Auburn to definitely be a contender in the SEC next season. Could Auburn be a college football playoff dark horse? I'm sure that's a question many Auburn fans are questioning going into 2020. I definitely think Auburn is a team that once again could contend in the SEC, but nationally, I don't think it's very possible next season. Of course, I think Bo Nix, once again, he's a great quarterback, no doubt, but I just don't think he's able to lead a team to a college football playoff appearance quite yet. I think, once again, the key word in there is yet. I think that he definitely could at some point in his career. I just don't expect it to be next season. Looking at your schedule now, you start off the season with a blowover game against Alcorn State. And yeah, in that comparison into the Oregon game, of course, you saw last season to kick off the season. This one will be a much easier opener against Alcorn State at home. Then you've got a tough one, though, the next week against North Carolina in a neutral location. Watch out for that one. North Carolina is definitely a team that I do expect to be very improved heading into next season. You also got Ole Miss on the road on the 19th, followed by Southern Miss to finish out September. In October, you got Kentucky, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State in that order. And of course, that's going to be probably your toughest month with having to play Georgia on the road in Athens. Then you got Texas A&M at home, which I'd expect Texas A&M to be a big contender too. Watch out for them. And of course, a road trip to Mississippi State, that could be difficult too. But I mean, yeah, don't sleep on your November as well. The first couple weeks of your November are looking pretty easy with Arkansas and UMass both at home. But that's kind of the quiet before the storm, because you got two really tough games to finish out the regular season. And your two key games too, LSU and Alabama, you got to play both of them before you go into the postseason. So yeah, really for Auburn, I definitely think this is a team that could start out this season 9-0 or 9-1, no doubt. I think those last two games though could definitely shift this Auburn team to make it look like a much different season. But nonetheless, here's what your September looks like. I think you go 4-0 through September. Alcorn State, easy win. You're going to have close wins against North Carolina and Ole Miss. And of course, the games highlighted in yellow are supposed to resemble your tough wins. So those are going to be wins under 13 points. And of course, the highlighted in green means that you will likely win them by more than 15. That's what I'm expecting at least. But yeah, I think that you'll get an easy win over Southern Miss as well. Overall, your September does not look all that bad. In October, you got 4 more games, and I think you're going to have tough wins against Kentucky, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State. However, your first loss is going to come against Georgia. That Georgia road game, I think it's going to be really tough. Of course, the stretch coming into that game really is not too bad. Of course, you've got Southern Miss 2 weeks before, and then Kentucky 1 week before. But I just think with it being on a road game, and I think Georgia's definitely a team that should be a big contender next season nationally, I think that's going to be a tough one to win in Athens, and I think they take a loss there. However, I expect them to get a big win against Texas A&M on or at home the next week, and then they also get a win against Mississippi State on the road. But overall, I think your October, you're going to see a lot of close games in there. As far as your November goes, that's the big important month, and here's what I'm expecting. Once again, 2 easy wins with Arkansas and UMass. Don't really expect much of those teams, and of course, UMass I actually think is, quite honestly, the worst FBS conference team, or the worst FBS team in general. I mean, if you watched them last season, they were absolutely horrendous. But yeah, those 2 games will be easy. However, you got LSU and Alabama to finish off the regular season. And I think with LSU being at home, that's going to be a big win. I think that's going to be the signature win of the season for Auburn. I just think coming off of like 2 really easy games, having to be at home for the first couple weeks, I mean, that's going to give Auburn a lot of time to be able to study LSU and get ready for that game. Honestly, you could just consider those Arkansas and UMass games to be bye weeks, basically. Like, I would be absolutely stunned if Auburn would take a loss in one of those games, with them both being at home for that matter. But yeah, that LSU game going to be huge. I think Auburn gets a win there. That's going to be a big win for this Auburn team. However, I think that they're going to drop the last game of the regular season against Alabama. I think after that LSU game, there's going to be a little bit of a hangover for this Auburn team. Of course, you prepare so much for that LSU game. I just don't think it's going to be very reasonable to say that they can beat both LSU and Alabama next season. And also, that Alabama game is in Tuscaloosa. That is going to be a road game. So yeah, don't really expect much out of that Alabama game. But in the end, once again, your season record prediction will be 10-2. I think Auburn is definitely going to be a great team next season. I think they've got a ton of potential to do some great things, no doubt. But once again, your 2 losses are going to be both road games against Georgia and Alabama. You will be undefeated at home next season. So with that about wraps up our record prediction and season prediction in general over Auburn. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to slap a like on it, subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel, and I'd really appreciate that a ton. But once again, thank you guys all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Auburn, and let me know whether you think they'll be better or worse. But yeah, once again, thanks for sticking around. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I will see you all later.